when Michigan came in with that big offer yesterday and conceded on some of the requests that he wanted for, the different protections against the NCAA, they basically came in at the 11th hour, and it was, probably a few hours, if not a few days or weeks too late. Um, and again, I wrote about this for a column this morning. None of that guarantees, if you would have given Jim Harbaugh a bigger salary or the protections he wanted and granted him basically everything he asked for, it still doesn't guarantee that he leaves. In fact, or that he stays. In fact, I think he would have gone still. But again, it's part of that thing that we keep going back to, which is the maximizing the opportunity for yourself to retain an elite coach like this. So in that respect, I think Michigan handled this poorly. At the same time, the outcome may not have been different. I think that is an important thing to note as we talk about this coaching change and Jim Harbaugh's departure. It may not have changed anything, but it doesn't mean that it was handled the best that it possibly could have been.
No, because I honestly, and let me make one thing clear right off the bat. I think that he was going regardless. I think we're both kind of in lockstep on that.
I agree.
Because we've talked about this several times now, that when you are as devout to football as he is, there's no grander pursuit. He's not going to, he didn't leave for the NFL knowing that he's going to get a Super Bowl trophy. It's the pursuit of one that is a borderline religious experience for a guy like that. So in that regard, and really, as far as we know, this is the first time he's had a concrete offer in his 9 years as Michigan's head coach. So I want to make it very clear from the jump. I think he was going regardless. At the same time, I don't think you can sit here as athletic director Ward Manuel, as President Santa Ono, as members of the Board of Regents, and look yourself in the mirror and say that you did everything you possibly could to support this guy and give him what he needed to basically make him your coach for the rest of his football life. And it's no guarantee of anything. But when you look at the way that this was handled, even going back to, I keep pointing back to last January. Some of us will go all the way back to January of 2021 with the pay cut and things like that. But the messaging is the same in that I don't think that anyone involved in this negotiation from a Michigan side of things can truly lay their head down at night and say that they did everything in their power to secure him for the rest of his days. And it may not have been enough, but I just feel like it was, I'll stop short of saying it was botched, because we don't know that there's anything that could have kept Jim Harbaugh in Ann Arbor, but it does feel like it was, what did he always say? Like, you play as long as you can, as hard as you can, as well as you can. And I don't think that, that Michigan's administration did that.
Yeah, no, I agree with that. I felt like that was kind of important to start out with, because it was largely driving a lot of the discussion late night on social media last night, probably after we wrapped up the Wednesday night show. And, something that we kind of talked about a little bit, but maybe not specifically with that reporting, which was obviously a great job by Angelique. And look, she also pointed out what Ward Manuel said in his statement and what Santa Ono said in his statement, which are important too. They said we were trying to make him the highest paid coach in the country. And even if it was late in the process, they did that. I think it was too late. I think we both said that yesterday as well. But that's kind of where that stands. Kind of just day after thoughts as well, just on the Jim Harbaugh tenure. I wrote about this as well, that came out this afternoon. But, surrounding the notion that Jim Harbaugh was basically born and raised to coach Michigan, if you think about it, born December 23rd, 1963 in Toledo, spends, time around the game of football basically his entire life. Said that at age four, he says 4.5, which is very specific. He definitely remembers this exact moment, but he says he would play as long as he can, then coach, then die. He's done 2 of the 3. The other one's going to happen to everybody. But he did it at Michigan, for so many years. And Ari Wasserman from The Athletic, whether or not Michigan fans love a lot of what he says, had a great tweet last night, which was, there are all these saviors of the program, right? Scott Frost comes to mind as one, but a lot of them, They come back. They're the prodigal son, and they fail. It's whether it's the pressure or just the fact that, I mean, what are the odds that a guy who happened to play there, is also going to be really the savior of a program? I mean, one, the fact that you need a savior means the program was down. It's hard to get them out of a rut like that. You could go on and on for the reasons why these guys failed, but Jim Harbaugh is one of the few that didn't fail. In fact, it was a success, and maybe it didn't go exactly how you thought it was going to with championships immediately, but I think when you look back at the landscape of college football, the inherent, speed bumps you have at a place like Michigan, being in the Midwest, I mean, where there haven't been many national champions over the last 20, 30 years, it's impressive, and it's incredible. And Michigan's lucky that he did come back, because, I don't know where this program would have been if he didn't. But just the fact that the savior thing really did kind of come to fruition.
It's hard to do. How many coaching cycles do we have where someone gets labeled a home run hire, and then again, Lincoln Riley at USC, home run hire, Brian Kelly at LSU, home run hire. I mean, and those guys, their story is still to be written, but
Sure.
The only time I can ever think of that quote unquote home run hire paying off as well as it did for Michigan is Nick Saban in Alabama and Urban Meyer at Ohio State. And those are guys you're talking about as two of the best, regardless of how you feel about them, two of the best head coaches in the history of the sport. So for Michigan, again, you look at this Harbaugh era as a whole, and I think, there's kind of been this false narrative painted because some people's brain, like there's like people who have post-COVID brain and pre-COVID brain in terms of, I'm talking about that season. I'm talking about any of the symptoms.
I was going to say, you're really going there.
No, I'm just saying, when you look back at, 2015 through 2019, Bill Connolly put out something, ESPN, his SP plus, Harbaugh's SP plus history. It was a team that finished 14th in 2015, 4th in 2016, 12th in 2017, 6th in 2018, 11th in 2019. So this narrative that like the Harbaugh era was total crap or a total disappointment to that point. Yes. Did they beat Ohio State to that point? No. Had they won a Big Ten title yet? No. They were spot away from doing both of those things in 2016, and it didn't work out. And
no one else was beating Ohio State either, by the way.
No, I mean, Urban Meyer lost like 2 games in Big Ten play. I don't know what the exact stat is, but Jim Harbaugh's biggest sin of that era is that he couldn't beat Urban Meyer, who I just invoked like 45 seconds ago as one of the best head coaches in the history of college football. So
at a place where it's easier to win,
Exactly. So when I look at this era as a whole, it was a massive success. And I know people didn't expect it to take 7 years to win a Big Ten title. National title, that's not a slam dunk. The same way that a Super Bowl is not a slam dunk, but to even get one of those in 9 years is impressive. And, this run over the last 3 years, it was remarkable. And that was earned too. And, I'd be hard pressed to, this run over the last 3 years, if you want to have the debate about who's the best coach in Michigan football history, I think you can still have that debate with the other guys thrown in, but nobody at Michigan, since they've been wearing helmets that weren't made of leather, has had a better 3-year run than Jim Harbaugh has. And for that, he's a legend. And, people will argue, did he earn the right to go? Didn't he earn the right? The fact of the matter is that you had one of the best coaches at any level of the sport coaching you for 9 years, when all it took was a no from him back in 2015 or 2014. And David Cutcliffe is your head coach, or someone that would not have done all of these things is your head coach. So it's bittersweet for Michigan fans, but to have a decade like that is, don't forget how dark 2008 through 2014 were. I mean, those were dark times that no one ever thought they'd come out of, and they did. And salute to him, and we'll see what happens from here.
Yeah, one of the reasons why they weren't as dark as they could have been was John Beilein, what he did on the basketball side. Jim Harbaugh the last couple of years kind of doing that on the football side. But here's hoping that both programs able to, Michigan football continue the success. Michigan basketball obviously get back on the right side of that. because it's a hell of a lot more fun when they're both great, right? And Michigan's one of the few programs or few athletic departments in the country that can do that at the same time. If you look at it, Florida had a run there, but there aren't too many athletic departments that are able to sustain a really good football team and a really good basketball team. For whatever reason, it's just a hard thing to do. Michigan's been able to do it, and hopefully they can get back to that.